All right, so good Tuesday morning. I am on vacation, but was given an opportunity to speak with former WIBX radio personality Brad Davies, who has been living in Houston with Hurricane Harvey and the horrific floodwaters, what they're dealing with down there. I was given an opportunity at a remote studio to be able to speak with Brad, and it took advantage of that here this morning. So another 15 inches of rain is forecast right now. Brad, if you could, paint a picture of what you guys are dealing with down there in Houston right now.
Man, it's hard to even put a picture together. I mean, think about if you've seen any of it on CNN, and then multiply that times, 1,000 or whatever. I mean, watching the local channels here, you go down throughway or highway, overpasses and underpasses that you're on a regular basis, and they're under 8 or 9 or 10 feet of water, literally, and entire neighborhoods are washed out. I mean, there's literally people on flat-bottom boats who are pulling people out of their houses in neighborhoods. Like, I'm in the suburbs, about 30 miles away from the city. We got hit particularly hard. I can hear it right now. I'm standing in my back patio, actually, with a driving rain, but I can hear the sound of those flat-bottom boats probably maybe a half a mile away, and
wow.
they're picking people up. I was just checking my neighborhood page. The neighborhood has its own little page on Facebook, and people are putting addresses in there, and they're just, these boats are going and picking these people up and bringing them to wherever the nearest shelter is.
There are people that don't have any services at all.
It's amazing. It really is. Luckily, and I guess it's because in my neighborhood, most of the, everything is underground. So, I mean, I still have electricity. It's flickered on and off a couple of times, but I've been able to, I've got internet and I've got TV. So I've been, watching what's going on. But man, when you watch and then you see things like from your neighborhood, it puts on a whole, it just takes the whole thing to another level.
So you're in a position, this is really, and here we are early in the week. This is supposed to continue all week long and into the end of the week. And you're in a position where you haven't been flooded right now, but the warnings are like voluntary evacuation going on right now, because if this were to persist, you might be in a position where you've got to get out. And talk about how you've been preparing, you're packing things up. I mean,
it's amazing, really. Again, the first day, this started on Friday, and on Friday, I don't want to say it was people weren't taking it seriously, because we always take heavy rains down here seriously. The ground is clay, and it just doesn't drain. So anytime there's a major rain situation, everyone takes it seriously. But on Friday, I think people kind of thought it was going to be maybe overdone in the media or whatever. I mean, people are having parties, and it was all kind of fun and games. That second day, things took it aside. At Saturday, things took it aside. It turned for the worse. When you woke up Saturday morning, you knew, okay, this is going to be every bit as serious as you thought.
Yeah.
I didn't think. Again, we don't have standing rain. We've got water in the yard and a little bit in the road, but nothing that's scary at this point, even though a lot of my neighbors do. But yesterday, my wife was texting her friends, I'm texting mine, and we both kind of looked at each other and we said, well, we should take things that mean something to us and put them, in a box, put it up on top of the refrigerator or on top of something high in the house, just in case water does intrude. And so we've done that. We packed a bag for the kids, and they've got their favorite toy. We've got that, just in case we have to get out. Now, there's no way for us to go outside of our neighborhood, even though we've got friends all over who've extended, welcome to us. There's no way for us to get more than, maybe a quarter mile, half mile in every direction. So our friends up the street, we live in a big one-story, they have a big two-story, so you can kind of just go upstairs in a worst-case scenario and just kind of ride it out there. I mean, it's not ideal, but it's better than staying in your house with a foot of water on the floor. That, is dangerous for the electricity, for the whole 9 yards. So that's our plan, as of right now. I mean, we thought about evacuating a little earlier today because, as you said, they did issue a voluntary evacuation. But it's just not. It's not. I got to tell you something. It's not easy. You see this on TV sometimes, and you listen to them interview people who are right there with a big hurricane bearing down on them, and they say, well, I'm not leaving. I can't leave my house. And, for the first time in my life, I'm kind of facing that. And I know there's nothing, like my logical brain tells me there's nothing I can do to stop whatever it is that's going to happen. But I don't want to leave. I mean, it's my house. It's where all my things are. It's
right.
the whole thing. I don't want to leave. I mean, that's, my wife and I kind of feel the same way. And we don't feel like we're putting ourselves and the kids in jeopardy simply because
you have a place to go.
We have a place to go. It's just, really a few feet away. And the other side of that is, again, we don't have water creeping up in the backyard or creeping up in the front yard. They're saying it could happen. They're saying it definitely could happen within the next couple of days. But it's not a guarantee. No one knows for sure. And if it does come in, it doesn't appear that it's going to be something, because it's starting to let up as of now.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we're still expecting, I think, 15 inches of rain in the next 3 days. So
wow.
It's hard to believe that's a let up
after
everything. We've already had 36 or 37 inches the past 2 or 3. But again, it's really hard for you to say, I'm just going to grab my stuff and leave, and maybe it's forever. It's really, really hard to do that.
And how?
So that's why we're staying.
Explain that you're near a dam, and how close that the FEMA actually has. They are able to look at properties, and they know at what level. Explain that if you could.
Yeah, I just good luck with me giving you the explanation.
Okay.
I am not a member of the Army, Service Corps of Engineers.
Right. I get that.
I've been, obviously they're nonstop. They're telling you about it on the TV, and I've been reading about it. So the dam near us, one of the dams near us, is getting high, and water is very powerful, and so that they're worried that the dam is going to lose its integrity, and if it does, that's bad news for everybody.
Yeah.
So what they've decided to do is release water. I guess it's going to be a foot at a time over a period of days in order to relieve that dam so they can control it. The problem with that is, because we're still getting rain, there's some kind of a kickback, I guess, for lack of a better term, and that is going to surge through some neighborhoods. And me being whatever it is, about a half a mile away, maybe 3/4 of a mile away from that dam, and already near that dam, there are people whose houses have been flooded. They're in my neighborhood. They're saying that it's coming in my direction. So we go on the FEMA maps, and they show you where your height is, and they said if your house is whatever, however number of feet above the bottom of the dam, and I guess we're at 107. If it goes over that, your house is probably going to get flooded. If it goes under, you'll probably be fine. And what they're predicting is it's going to go to 104. So, I mean, again, that doesn't leave you a lot of room.
And how close is that? 104 is only 2 inches. Is it like 2 inches away from your property?
2 feet.
2 feet.
Okay. About 3 feet. About 3 feet.
Got it.
So I live at the end of my road, a cul-de-sac, and so my house is like the last house, and it's raised a little bit higher. Likewise, at the other end of my street, those houses, and this is all because Houston floods like mad.
Right.
Those houses are built up slightly higher as well, and our drains are in the middle of our street. So when we had I guess it was almost 6 inches of rain in a matter of 2 hours yesterday, that's when the water got as high as it has been. And even then, the bottom of my street was not covered with water, but the middle of my street was, and water was starting to creep up people's driveways.
Yeah.
So I feel like because we're at 107 and they're predicting it, at 104, I feel like, I'm cautiously optimistic.
Yep,
I vacillate between, feeling guilty because maybe we won't, you know what I mean? And then feeling happy because I'm raising a family and the kids.
You're saving
I've got
everything.
the kids, 8 and 10, and they kind of get it, but they don't really understand the magnitude of it. And so same thing. They go from playing video games to crying and saying they're scared. And it's tough. It's a scary situation.
I do. We're talking to Brad Davies. Brad is a former radio personality here in the Utica area, WIBX. Went on to work in Syracuse and Rochester, and then in Houston, which is where he currently lives. And their home is right in the middle of all of the flooding, the hurricane, the flooding, the waters, as Brad has described. Floodwaters are about a 1/4 mile away. They've been given a voluntary evacuation order. Brad, how long, I mean, you've been through a hurricane before. How long before things can even come close to getting back to normal there?
Oh, man. I mean, again, we had a tax day rain a couple of years ago, and the year before that we had a horrible rain on Memorial Day, which, shut the city down for a couple of weeks. Not totally, but
right.
shut it down. I mean, a lot.
Yeah.
And again, so many people lost their houses and their things, and this is going to be significantly, substantially worse than that. I mean, there's going to be when all is said and done, there's going to be hundreds of thousands of people without houses. I mean, realistically.
Wow.
It's heartbreaking. It's devastating. It's going to take, realistically, I mean, it's going to take months for things to get back to normal.
Yeah.
My wife is a teacher, and we have a school right here in our neighborhood, at the elementary school, and the elementary school is in that map I was telling you about. That's lower than us, so they're guessing that that's going to flood, and if that floods, I'm going to be normal for my kids for quite some time, or my wife, because
wow.
And so there's many stories like that, obviously, not just we live in Katy, but all over the Houston area.
Yeah.
And this is a big, big area. I mean, the magnitude it's hard for me to even wrap my head around it. Really is.
It shows you, boy, when you talk about, they're always saying, well, with global warming or whatever causes, the change.
Sure.
Cities are going to fall, and I mean this is what happens. Luckily, it's temporarily, but people are losing everything here. I mean,
right. That's. I mean, you're preaching to the choir there. I don't know. Again, I'm not a scientist. I suspect the scientists know more than I do, and most of them think that there's something to global warming. And I mean, I don't know. Again, we've had so many massive rain events in this area. And I've lived here about 11 years now, so many that, it does make you kind of raise your eyebrow.
Yeah.
Like, where's it all coming from? And I don't know. But you're right. I mean, it's just, it's devastating. Water is devastating.
And
really
powerful. And luckily, we have politicians who know more than the scientists. Thank God.
That's right.
Because
we're in good shape there.
We are in good hands with the politicians. So, all right. Well, listen. We wish you the best. I know I reached out this morning and just said I hope all is okay, and it seems like it is, but you got to be on edge. And by the way, nowhere to go, right? You don't have anywhere to go.
There's nowhere to go. I mean, again, we've got friends all over. We can't get there.
Yeah.
I mean, again, in worst case scenario, we would go, a few doors down.
Yeah.
They have a 2-story house. We just go up into the upstairs and ride it out.
I mean, you grew up here when the big blizzards were forecast and all of that.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
Was there a run on milk and eggs and canned goods and all that before? I
gotta tell you, you couldn't even believe it. And I learned this back in Ike, which was in 2007. That was my first hurricane here. I remember going out and trying to get some water and get some things. And I was literally in a line at a grocery store. Just started in the back of the store and wrapped all the way around. It took me about 2.5 hours to get to the register. Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Now, this time, when they started talking about the storm, which was, I guess, last weekend, we started to slowly but surely bought water. I got a big baseball 5-gallon jug of water. We filled that up.
Yep.
We bought a ton of canned goods. And then as we got a little bit further into the week, we started the other things to tell you to do: put gas in your car because you never know how far you may have to go.
Yep.
Get cash out of the ATM because you never know. If things go down for a period of time, you can't use a credit card or a debit card or whatever. So we did all those things. I mean, we're ready. But the interesting thing about that is they usually say, hey, prepare for 3 days. So we prepared for, probably more than 3 days, but it could end up being that we're, if this water, depending on how long it takes all the water around us to receive, we could be unable to go to a store for, maybe another 5 or 6 days. So, we'll be fine, but you got to stretch that out. It's just amazing. It really is.
Yeah.
Think about that. How helpless we kind of are in that situation. It is scary. There's no doubt.
All right, well, listen, we wish you the best. We'll check in maybe later in the week. Hopefully you still have cell service and all of that. And hopefully, as you say, this subsides a little bit. And you don't have the big hills, do you? Like here, it's the aftermath because of the hills where the runoff is what's the big problem here with rain.
No, I mean, here the problem is no runoff. I mean,
Right,
there are no
right.
hills in Houston. There
Yep.
are none.
Yep.
You know, in fact, if you drive out I-10 West, go towards San Antonio, they call a section of Texas hill country because that's where the hills are. There's no hills in Houston. If you go up onto a bridge, you can see the top of houses for miles in every direction. So again, no runoff.
Yep.
That's why they have this system of levees, dams, bayous, the whole thing. And, you know, everything north of us drains to our bayou, which goes to the levee and then the dam, and then the same south of us, and it just kind of keeps going. So that, too, with the releasing water here, that's going to affect not just us in our neighborhood, but it's going to affect a lot of people downstream as well. I mean, it's just, you know, and that's a lot of people are questioning whether or not that's ethical, I guess, because you're kind of thinking, okay, well, these neighborhoods unfortunately are going to flood, and a lot of people are going to unfortunately lose their house. But the reason is because if we don't do that, we can't control it, and it could be far worse. I mean, that's going to be a huge debate around here, I'm sure, you know, in the coming weeks. But right now, everyone's just focused on
trying to survive this.
Let's just get to tomorrow. Yeah, let's get to tomorrow.
And even for your business now, I mean, you've pretty much left radio and you work in real estate. It's going to be just the unknown is what's going to happen after everybody starts to rebuild.
It's like I told my wife, I'm like, you know, how many people, I don't know. People are probably not going to be buying and selling houses. I mean, I flipped some houses as well, so I guess, you know, there could be, you know, some opportunities there. I mean, there are going to be so many houses that have horrible damage. I don't know. I really don't know where that's going to lead. And this is this city's been growing for 10 or 15 years, and they said over the next 3 decades to add another 3 to 4 million people to the Houston area. And so, but, you know, events like these make you wonder, is that a place that I want to move? I mean, that's a big deal. That's a big deal. So I don't know. I have no idea how it's going to affect the economy or the housing market or oil prices. Definitely go up. There's no doubt about that. Because that's already been affected. So, you know, it's a big deal. I mean, it's not just a local thing. It's big just because of the oil down here, the oil industry and the economy. So.
All right, we'll check in later in the week, Brad. Be safe down there, and thanks for taking the time.
Will do. Thanks.